Listen to, there are a lot of small penises in this world. Most men have small, listen, I don't know if men know this.
I think
I'm not done. I'm not done. Men need to hear this. Most of y'all, listen, what camera am I looking? Most of y'all have small, most of y'all have small penises. Slut shaming is born in the insecurities of men. And your insecurities are born in your penis and your wallet size. Because honestly, and I'm gonna be super frank here, I never heard a big man with not just big energy, not just BDE, but a man who's well endowed. I've never seen a well endowed man call a woman a whore.
Yeah, she's back. It's none other than Corinne Steffens, aka Superhead. These days she's going by Elizabeth. This is the Amber Rose of Generation X. Yeah, the 304 advocate before Amber Rose's walk, and the wannabe intellectual 304 way before Brittany Renner. That's this woman right here. She influenced those women. Brittany Renner said that Corinne Steffens was her hero. She wanted to be just like her after she read one of Corinne's books in high school, where she was talking about all the rappers and athletes that she was having relations with. She was doing a lot of strange things on camera, and she built a name for herself for being a 304. Well, when Brittany Renner grew up and in her 20s, she followed in Corinne Steffens' footsteps and she put out her own book. Well, now one of the originators of the tell-all, she's back out there, but this time in the podcast streets, where she's giving females advice on men. Yes, you have women calling this woman up for advice. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. We're going to go ahead and get into it, but take a second to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Click the notification bell for all updates. Not going to waste any time here. Let's go ahead and dive in.
Okay.
It's always the men who can't handle a sexually advanced woman in the bedroom.
Okay.
Lori Harvey, I would say, like, if Lori Harvey was a friend in my head, if she was my friend, and she is a friend in my head, right? And I were to give Lori Harvey some advice. First of all, I have no advice for her. I have zero advice for Lori Harvey.
Really?
Yes. I think Lori Harvey is probably the first person that I've talked about on the show that I have no advice for.
Okay.
Because I feel like Lori Harvey did everything right. Lori Harvey kissed a bunch of frogs. And it's not her fault that none of them were good enough. That's their fault.
Wow. Okay.
If you were a big enough man in more ways than one, you might have been able to keep her. But you weren't good enough. You weren't big enough. You weren't man enough. You weren't something enough for her based on her standards, most likely.
Wow.
And she moved on. And we can't stigmatize women moving on. Y'all want us to settle for less so bad. But when a woman doesn't settle for less and she knows when to zip and zap and dip and dive, you're like, oh, she's a slut because you're not good enough for her. Now she belongs to the streets. And it's always the men with 17 kids talking about you belong to the streets. Bro, you are the streets. You are the dirty, nasty, rat infested. You're a rat carrying a pizza on a subway in New York. You are the streets.
I don't think Lori Harvey is trying to get any advice from Corinne Steffens. She's not trying to be looked at in the same light. She saw how horrible that was for her, and now she's trying to clean everything up. But a couple of years ago, Lori, she was being passed around the industry. That's after her engagement ended with the soccer player. But it appears that her mother and Steve Harvey, they got through to her. And that's when she settled down with Michael B. Jordan. Haven't heard a peep out of her since. So things seem to be going smooth with them. I think that Michael B. Jordan is a good look for her image. And he's not going through any of that backlash anymore. You know, the black women used to always say that Michael B. didn't like black women. He only liked white women. But since he's been with the black woman, Lori Harvey, he's no longer being criticized for dating outside of his race or being a swirler. But see what Corinne Steffens is doing, this whole, the men, they weren't big enough for her, or they weren't good enough, and that's why they didn't work out. Not once did she question why was Lori messing around with those type of guys anyway. By the time Lori got with Future, he had at least 7 baby mamas. So why isn't there any accountability for her even messing with somebody like that? Lori was a young woman. She had no kids. Why would she pick Future? The truth is, a lot of women, they are attracted to the bad guys. And they usually wait to get with the good guy once the bad guy knocked them up and everything. But luckily for Lori, she got out before any of that happened. Yeah, but I don't know what Corinne is talking about. Let's keep listening.
Listen, every time a man says something slick about a woman, I know he has a small.
Yeah.
And once a woman figures that out, she ain't going back to 6 inches or 5 or 4. Some of them are like a cool inch. I was married to a man who had a cool 1.5 inches. I know because I measured it. Trust me. It's not good. We are fed up.
I see.
We are tired of small.
And for the men who gave her a kid or married her, I don't feel sorry for them at all. At all. Corinne is not a chameleon. She's been this way, so she didn't fool anybody. This mindset's so destructive, but now it's been passed down to younger generations. This was happening back in the 90s. Corinne is Generation X, a lot of them in their 40s and 50s now.
Listen.
Can I ask a question?
Wait, not yet. Let me finish my sermon. Okay?
Okay.
'Cause we in church. So now, when men shame women because of those insecurities, that makes women not want to have the sex that they really want. That shame is meant to make men feel better. So now it's like, well, I don't want to, I would have sex, but they're going to call me a whore, so I'm not going to do it. So I'm just going to settle for this little piece man that I met one time, and now I'm having horrible sex the rest of my life so that I don't hurt his ego. The men with the smaller, inadequate, and there's a lot of small pieces in this world. There are a lot of small pieces in this world. Most men have small. Listen, I don't know if men know this.
I think
I'm not done. I'm not done. Men need to hear this. Most of y'all, listen. What camera am I looking? Most of y'all have small. Most of y'all have small. Does that answer your question?
It does, but I'm just curious. I was thinking that it also could have been, depending on the man, a control thing. That as a woman, you may not even be a slut, but they basically will present you in that light just to control you, to make sure you stay in line.
Well, to make sure that you settle for their tiny. Yeah. It's all
well,
fun.
yeah.
Listen, sluts aren't a real thing. Sluts are not a real thing. No one's a slut.
So that right there is what she had to say to all of the men that's out there holding women accountable, the ones on podcasts, on social media, everywhere. She said that all the men who criticize women, they're small, they're insecure, and they don't have enough of something. That's just another shaming tactic, and I think we need to get her a time machine. I'm not sure if this worked back in her day, but this is a new day. Coming for their manhood, that's not going to back them down. It probably worked back in her day, but it's not working in 2022. She's trying to stop anybody from holding women accountable. She does not want women to be criticized at all, or to be held to any standard. They should be able to go out and do whatever they want to do with whoever they want, and no one is supposed to say anything about it. She's trying to say that 304s don't exist. Like, cut it out. People like her, they are the old school leaders of 304 culture, the mothers and the grandmothers of the movement. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started below in the comments. Will these old 304s ever get tired of leading women down the wrong path, or will they do this forever? If you want to see the full video, the link will be below in the description. Special thank you to Dark Power. I appreciate you, brother, for your support for the channel. Want to see more content like this? You can support the channel too. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balance analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to like and share.